Well, hello there, everybody. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, can anybody hear me yet? All right. Hi, Teresa. How are you? Hello, Kitty, Rhonda, James, Susie, everybody that's come in. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Hey, Woody, good to see you. Dania, nice to see you there. Loud and clear. Very good. Excellent. 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 Hey, Jay. Hello, Greg. Audio is good. How's the video? Is it coming in or am I buffering a lot? It looks nice and clear from my end, but if I am wrong, let me know. Hey, B, how you doing? Hello, Katrina. Katarina. I'm sorry, Katarina. Used to have a secretary who worked for me named Katrina. She was some piece of work. She was a corker. Video and audio good. Excellent. Okay. Well, we've got a couple quick housekeeping things to address, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the show. First of all, I wanted to give some instructions to my moderators. I have awesome moderators that do a fantastic job, always have, and I wanted to just instruct them that the rules for moderators for this live stream is if somebody does something out of line, you give them a warning. Just tell them that you're the moderator and straighten up and not do that. If they do it a second time, they go into timeout. And if they do it a third time, you boot them. This is a late night live stream. That doesn't mean anything goes. That means that this is a G-rated show. Comments can have some fun. If it gets to PG-13, that's fine. Anything worse than that, anything that attacks anybody else or myself, anybody that's being disruptive gets booted. Booting is what you do best. Yes, Tarita, you are very good at that, and so is Kitty. So I appreciate you guys jumping in there. I don't know if any of my other moderators are here. If so, please comment so I know who I've got in the house. Other than that, I think you guys do a great job, and I'll leave it at your discretion as to who should get booted and who should not get booted. Other than that, let's go ahead and start moving along into the show. Gabby Judge, did I get your message about the avocado? No, I don't think I've seen that one yet, Gabby. I'll have to look for it. I don't remember there being anything about avocados. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is some really sad news. And that is it's been raining all day today, so I have not been able to smoke the bacon. The bacon is ready to be smoked. It's in the freshwater bath right now, getting the salt off of it. And we've got good weather going on tomorrow, so it will go into the smoker tomorrow. Gabby, I don't use Google very much, so I'll have to look at that. I don't know Google Plus very well. I'll have to get into it. So I will check. Okay, so the bacon is doing fine. It's doing absolutely fine. It'll be fine. It's just that it poured rain today, and I can't take my camera nor my computer outside to videotape for you guys to make it part of the live stream. So we're not going to be able to see me finish the bacon today. But just so you know, the bacon was cured in a mix of 2 cups of brown sugar, dark brown sugar, 2 cups of kosher salt, and a cup of maple syrup. It sat inside Ziploc bags in that rub in the refrigerator. Every day I turned it, I flipped it over every day. And what's happened is the salt and all that has sucked a lot of the moisture out of the bacon, and it shrinks up a little bit. As salt, that's what it's supposed to do. So we ended up getting probably a cup and a half of liquid out of each one of the Ziploc bags that we discarded, and now we're rinsing off all of the salt and the brown sugar and maple syrup that's on the exterior, so we don't get a sugar burn when we go to smoke it, because otherwise if that sugar remains on the outside, it just burns. If any of you guys have cooked some really sugared bacon, you'll notice that it burns pretty bad in the skillet, leaves some black there. So anyhow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke the bacon tomorrow. I'm going to videotape that, and I'll put the whole thing together in a new video that'll be coming out. So you guys will be able to see the whole thing. But as we discussed last week, I am going to give away a pound of bacon to one of the viewers. We had a number of people last week and during this week that commented on the live stream video after it's over. Not in the chat, guys. Not in the chat. In the comments after the video is over, put in there your name and that you're interested in being one of the people in the drawing for the pound of bacon. And I will draw somebody out and send a pound of bacon to them. And then their requirement is, of course, they have to then get back onto another chat later on and let everybody know how the bacon was. I guess kind of rubbing it into the other folks that didn't get a pound of bacon. And I'm sorry, I just can't provide bacon for everybody. But that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, our founding fathers of our country never thought it necessary to protect our rights to farm, like they did freedom of speech and the right to have guns and what have you. And because it was so foreign, the concept to them that, you know, I would milk my cow and I can't sell a gallon of milk to my neighbor was such a foreign thing to them. They never even imagined a time in America where that would be the situation. And yet that's the situation we are in. So here we're at. So anyhow, so there will be bacon coming at the end of next week when we get that organized. Okay. With that said, for those of you that are watching, yes, I am watching a football game. Been a bad week, last couple of days for football. Yesterday, I watched my Ohio State Buckeyes absolutely destroy Rutgers, 58-0. I kind of ashamed watching games like that because there's really not much of a game when it's that much of a blowout. So, been a lot of those games lately. Anyhow, so that's my football talk. Live stream schedules. It's been suggested to me, and I was going to kind of watch and see what kind of turnout we had for tonight's live stream. It's been suggested to me that we have 2 live streams. That we do a Sunday night, late night, like we're doing tonight, more of a not necessarily adult thing, but you know, for I don't imagine kids should be up at this hour, is my way of thinking. It's 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. It's 7 p.m. here in Alaska. Most kids in America should either be in the bath getting ready for bed or should be in bed already. At least that's the way I raise my kids. So I don't know. I'll be interrupted here real quick to say, when do I expect my first heavy snow? Actually, I'm surprised we haven't had snow already. 23 degrees this morning, high of 47 here today. So I don't know how it'll go from that. Okay, so Teresa saying something about deactivating chat. Is there something wrong going on, Teresa, I'm not aware of? Because everything seems like it's going fine to me. There's Alderman Farms. I want to jump in on Alderman Farms' chat and set them as a mod. Okay. No, not here. Okay, good deal. Good deal. All right, so with that said, let me go on and talk about my videos that went on this past week. Not much to report because most of my videos, or the bulk of the videos that we did this week, got taken down to stop an assault that was going on, and so we're trying to put all that behind us. So there's not much I can talk about what videos I did have come out this week, except that I did a video of Papa John's driver driving a Mercedes-Benz, which I thought was pretty funny, and a dog team that was training for the Iditarod, which some folks seem to comment about, and that was the pretty much the extent of my of my videos that came out. Everything else, the other 2 that we had up were deleted. So Slow week. There's going to be a lot more videos coming out in the very near future. But with that said, let me kind of go on. I was going to do the bacon video today, and so it kind of put me at a bit of a loss over what to talk about during the live stream. But one of the more popular series that I've done in my videos is a series that I titled "How I Fed Myself for a Whole Year for Under $250,000." And a lot of people kind of laugh at that, and I did it as sort of a joke from all of these other YouTube channels that do these videos about how we fed a family of 24 on $300 a month, that kind of nonsense. And so a little bit of a reality check. I've done 2 videos that have come out so far. One was on chickens, and one was on pigs. And I had been working on and had planned to announce one or to release one this week on cows, but because of circumstances being what they were, I held off on that. But so I've decided to do something a little different and do that video as part of my live stream, if you guys are interested in seeing that. So if you guys would like to see the math and economics on whether or not you should or should not have a family milk cow, let me know and we can start into that. I have some things prepared. If not, we can go on to other things. I see Grizz is in the house. Grizz and I have had some ongoing conversations earlier today. I understand Grizz has been kicked out of every live stream that he's participated in this past week, so it's giving him 1,000. He's batting 1,000, and I rather imagine he was going to get bumped tonight, but I do see that maybe he's going to be nice and play along. So let's hope that's the case. Anyhow, I see Teresa is on it, so... No, man, let's move on past cows. Okay, all right. You don't want to see the information about the cow. Well, now I'm really at a loss because I had a big thing about cows done and I had a big thing about bacon done, and now I can't do either one of those. So what would you guys like to talk about today? And by the way, KK, I assure you there was nothing in that thing about the cows about having to deal with the problems that went on this past week. This is other details about, but I understand the situation. So a cow that milks chocolate milk would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, well, if you were joking, then let me kind of get into that. Okay, it looks like Grizz is going to get put in a timeout probably, but you want to talk about guns, James? Okay, well, tell you what, trust me that I'm not being nasty and doing this cow video. Let me go ahead and get into that, and so you can see the economics. It seems like having a family cow is a big question that a lot of homesteaders are asking themselves. Should we or shouldn't we? It's a very big commitment to get a family cow. You do have to... you got to milk. You got to milk. Now, some people are of the school of thought that you have to milk a cow every day. You do have to milk a cow every day. Some people are of the thought that you have to milk a cow twice a day. You do not have to milk a cow twice a day. You can get a cow acclimated and conditioned to milk once a day. You're not going to get nearly as much milk, and in the beginning, you substantially increase your chances of getting a mastitis, which is a disease to the udder, but it can be done. Can you differentiate between full-size and compact cows? Sure, Home Place Journal. There's a number of breeds of cows out now. Most of your large commercial cows are going to be your Holsteins and Jerseys, those sorts of cows. And then there's also some smaller breeds like the Dexter, which is about half the size or, 2/3 the size of a full-size cow. They also give half to 2/3 the amount of milk, but they also cost half to 2/3, they consume half to 2/3 the amount of food, and they can be kept on a smaller piece of land. If you have just your family and you're a small family, a couple of 3 people, maybe one of these smaller breeds of cows might be a better choice for you, because you're looking then at anywhere from 3 to 5 gallons of milk a day on a small cow, whereas the bigger breeds, like the Holsteins, you could be looking at 7 to 8 gallons of milk a day. And that's the kind of the key thing in here that you really have to consider when you're thinking about getting a dairy cow. You've really got to think about, what are you going to do with 7 or 8 gallons of milk a day? And that's what that affects. Everything has to do with your profitability, is your ability to be able to use that. Now, there's a number of products that you can get from milk, but before we get into that, let me go to the very beginning of my presentation and see if I can get this where it makes some sense for you guys, okay? So let me switch over to this, which is the first part of my presentation, obviously. And what this says on here is, and I know this is hard. Let me start out. I know this is hard for some people to see because it is kind of small. I will, if you go on to my page and click on the About section and go in there, you can pull up my email address and you can email me, or if one of my moderators wants to put my email address up there, that's fine. But you can email me and I will email you the Excel spreadsheet with this if you wish. Isn't it just like when you would cut back while not using formula and did it naturally? Yeah, you start out by twice the milk and you start cutting back, or two times milking and you cut back. Keep in mind that cow's milk production peaks at about 60 to 90 days after you've weaned, and then slowly starts to diminish from that point on until you dry them off. So cows are expensive, money and time. Find a local farm and buy it. Well, Grandma's Homestead, that's not necessarily the right answer for everybody. So let me explain to you how that goes. Is that out of focus? Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay. Ha. I don't know how I can get that in any better focus. Well, let me tell you what it says then. It's the spreadsheet. And again, if you want, I can go ahead and send you a copy of this. Darn it. My picture on the upload looks perfectly clear and large. And on there, it is out of focus. Oh, I just love it when a plan comes together. All right. Well, if you'll bear with me, I'll try to get through this quickly, and then we can go out. But basically, what we're looking at here is the land cost, or the cost of maintaining a cow, and some nuggets of information that you should think about when you're looking at a cow. A cow needs room. A cow needs acres. They need lots of acreage. If you limit a cow to a small acreage, you're going to increase your problems with that cow as far as having health issues and what have you. Cows, generally speaking, do not walk very far if they don't have to. And by the way, that noise you hear in the background is Lily. She's snoring away again as usual, so have to deal with that. A cow will walk from its water supply to its food, to its water supply, to its food, and it'll do its business all along the way. And twice a day, it'll walk into the barn for you because it gets pressure in its udder and it wants to be milked. Generally speaking, they will not walk anywhere that they don't have to walk, which is why a lot of farmers will use a metal rack to protect the hay. Because if you feed like a round bale, because the cows will just go and lay on top of the round bale and they'll pee and poop on it and ruin your hay. So cows are not great for walking, and they need to be able to walk and get out on the clean, hard ground as a health issue. Okay. Westview says it's blurry because of the bandwidth. Yeah, I get that it's blurry because of the bandwidth. My problem is if I increase my bandwidth any, we're going to get into a lot of buffering, but maybe that's not a problem. Maybe I can correct that here a little bit while we're going. If you guys will just bear with me a moment. See if I can increase my bit rate a little bit and see where it takes us. Is that, let's see if that helps. Give it a little bit. It'll take a few minutes for it to show up there. I increased my bit a little bit. I don't want to push it too far because we'll just start buffering like crazy. Okay, so the concept here is how much acreage does it take? And I'm saying it takes 2 acres of land. 5 acres is plenty of room for a cow. 2 acres of land would be adequate if you were in an area in the Midwest. If you were in, now I'm off stream, really? I should not be off stream. Buffering. Oh boy. All right, let's go back and change that back then. Yeah, back on, forget the post. Oh, okay, was it clearer when it came back on? Let's try that one more time. Did it come out clearer when it came back on, or was it still bad? I'm a few seconds behind. Yeah, I'm definitely a few seconds behind. I usually am. Okay, I'm just going to go on and we'll have to deal with it. I'll get through this as quick as I can and then we can move on. Okay. Anyhow, so a dairy cow requires a couple acres of land. Okay. You know what? Let me just do this. And we'll forget the visuals. How's that? Since you can't read them anyway, I'll just read them to you, and if you want a copy, I will send a copy to you. Hold it on a paper if you have it in front of us. I have it here on a paper, but I don't think you're going to be able to see it any better. So, okay. All right, so here's the deal. If you're going to have cows, you need to have a couple acres of cows. It just takes a couple acres of room. They need to be able to get out and walk around. Not only do they need to have a place to move around, but they're going to need to have some place where they can get out and graze and get some grass, which will greatly impact your economics. And that's what this report here is all about, is just about the economics. So you need a couple acres, and in here I did the math on what that costs to maintain a couple acres for a cow. So if you want the spreadsheet, let me know and I'll send you a copy of it. Your basic cow is going to weigh about 1,000 pounds. It's going to eat 26 pounds of dry matter a day, whether that be hay or grazing out in the pasture. It's going to require approximately 15 pounds of grain or feed a day as well. So if you go out and buy a cow, you're looking at a few things. First of all, I wanted to say sheep, goats, and buffalo are also milked. More people in America drink cow's milk. We're the #1 country in the world for cow's milk. But most people in the world actually drink goat milk. More people drink goat milk than cow's milk worldwide. People do milk, as I said, sheep, goats, and buffalo. In fact, my first wife was Italian, and having the buffalo milk is what they use for making the mozzarella. That makes the best mozzarella. Just a little tidbit for you there. Anyhow, so you need to buy your cow, and they're going to cost, depending on what they are in your market, but let's say about $1,500. You need for your cow, you need a hay rack, something to put the hay in that'll stop them from laying down in it. You'll need a water bucket. You'll need a feed tray. You'll need a shed for the cow to keep it out of the weather. The shed for your cows is going to be one of those things that's going to drive you nuts, actually, because you're going to go to all this expense of buying this shed or building this shed for the cows, and they won't use it. More often than not, I've seen cows, they have a shed they can get into and they'll just stand outside in the rain or in the snow. It's just the way it is. And home place brings up an interesting point here. Different animals will have a different percentage of cream in their milk than other animals. Surprisingly, the animal with the highest amount of milk fat is a duck-billed platypus. Not that anybody's going to go milk one, but the milk of a duck-billed platypus has more cream in it than any other milk. How's that for a little factoid for you? And yes, you are right, Jay Merritt. In the wintertime, you will need to keep that water from freezing. So you will have an electrical expense and the expense of a heater as well. So you're going to also need some place to store hay, because you're going to have to feed a lot of hay to your cow in the wintertime, unless you're down in the deep south where they can be out on pasture year round. If that's the case, you need more pasture. If you're having them up north, you can have them on a smaller area, but you're going to have to feed more hay to them. And if you have them on too small of a lot, like on an acre or so, you're going to have to feed a lot of hay to them. And if you're having to buy your hay and buy your grain, then your economics get out of whack for having that family cow, although it's still profitable to do it that way. Okay, so you're also going to need a lot of fencing. Cattle require a specific type of fencing. Generally speaking, it's a rolled out wire fence that has a strong mesh. We usually like to top strand that with some barbed wire to keep them from reaching over the top of it. Sometimes topping it with some electric works to keep them from getting over the top of it to protect your fencing. But you have to look at the cost of you putting your fencing in. I like to have fencing on T-post on 10-foot centers, good heavy wooden corners and gates. So there's something that you're going to have to consider. One of the biggest mistakes I see with homesteaders is having insufficient infrastructure. If you're going to have cows, you need to get your pen built first before you get your cow there, and make sure it's cow tight. That would require a high stance to milk a platypus. Yeah, I don't think you can milk a platypus. I don't know how you would milk a duck-billed platypus. I think they have really tiny teats too, so it'd be kind of hard. Okay, so you're going to need a feed barrel, feed scoop. You're going to need a milk pail, and for dairy cows, you need a seamless milk pail so that it can be sterilized. You need a strainer to strain out all of the impurities of the milk, the hairs and what have you. So you're going to need a strainer, and you're going to need a filter in order to handle that. You're going to need milk storage jugs, and those are, again, seamless and stainless steel and can be kind of pricey. If you're going to have a cow, you no doubt are going to want to have cheese making supplies. You're going to want to have a butter churn. You're going to have the veterinarian come out on a regular basis. You're going to have medicines for worming and what have you. You're going to have to deal with hoof trimming and farriers on a regular basis, shots and vaccinations. And of course, my last thought was you want to have an ice cream maker in there as well. Anyhow, the cost for all of those items, if you were to buy all those items at fair market value today, you're going to spend about $4,500 putting up the storage, building the sheds for the cows, and buying all the equipment you need. And you're still milking by hand. You're not talking about buying an electric milker. You're still talking about milking by hand at that. Now, I've amortized that in my spreadsheet based on the life expectancy of each one of those items, and adjusted the calculations from that. And the adjusted figure, your first year cost on that cow is only $1,000 basically. And from then on, it's about $1,000 a year, because we're amortizing the cost of doing all that over an anticipated lifespan. So when you think about buying that cow and setting up everything that you need to set up for that cow, and you've only got about $1,000 invested annually, I mean, total of $4,500, but annualized out at $1,000 a year, it becomes a whole different situation. Okay. Cows require hay. They eat 25 to 50 pounds. They on average 26 pounds of dry matter annually. They also need about 15 pounds of grain. So the hay is, figure a small bale of hay is 50 pounds, so it's half a bale of hay a day. I check prices, say in Ohio as an example, hay is, because my son is there, hay is $4 a bale. So $2 a day for hay. 15 pounds of grain. Oats currently selling $1.78 a bushel. Corn at $3.38 a bushel. You buy those at your local store, you're paying $10 to $14 a 50 weight. So you're about $3 a day in grain. So your feed cost for your cow is about $1,825. Yes, KK. In my spreadsheet, I do have the property taxes for the pasture. That's all calculated in there. What are the apples? Okay, Mike, I'm getting to that here. What's the comparison? Okay. So if you figure your infrastructure cost of buying and setting up all the equipment, and then your feed cost for the cow, your total first year, well, your total investment your first year at that point is $6,300 your first year. But if you amortize that, your total cost first year is $2,838. Now, what do you get? You have a cow that's producing 7 to 8 gallons of milk on average for 300 days out of the year. So it's an expensive endeavor to get set up and get the cow. But now think about this. What is the price of a gallon of milk where you live? Where I live, they're over $3 a gallon. So if I'm getting 7 to 8 gallons a day for 300 days, I'm getting $7,000 worth of milk. Think about that. 7,000. Think about where you live. What's a gallon of milk? I'd like to see some comments on here. What do you guys pay for a gallon of milk where you live? And Gabby, yes, there'd be I'm talking about a full-size cow, regular commercial cow, like like any one of the cows you'd see in a commercial dairy, not a miniature cow. Holsteins, that size cow. Okay, so comments, guys, come on. What does a gallon of milk cost where you live? Any idea? $2. Home place says $2 a gallon. $4 to $5. Wow, you live in an expensive area. We only go Thursday, 2 gallons of milk a month. Now, I know up here in Alaska, we pay a lot for milk because most of our milk is brought up. We only have one commercial dairy in the state. Havemeisters are good friends of mine. We go through a gallon a day here. Yeah, a lot of people do. $3.79, $4. Organic, $7.59. Now, am I saying that right? MIIPI? You bring up a very valid point, because if you're raising your own cow and you're controlling what you're feeding your cow, you in essence then have organic milk if you're feeding it and taking care of it correctly. But I'm not talking about organic milk. I'm trying to compare it to the bottom line milk you buy at the grocery store. Okay, so $9 for a gallon. Wow, you guys pay high prices. $1.98 a gallon here. Okay, well let's say it's even. Let's say you get 7.5 gallons a day times 300 days. That's 2,250 gallons. Even at $2 a gallon, that's $4,500 that it's costing you, or that you get in the value of milk in exchange for the $2,838. So on paper, buying a family cow, building your facilities that you need if you have that ground, or if you can afford to buy that ground, and keeping a cow financially makes a lot of sense. It's actually a good deal. However, the key thing is, can you make good use of that milk? What are you going to do with 7 or 8 gallons of milk? Even if you buy a smaller cow like a Dexter, and keep in mind a lot of these costs would be smaller, food costs certainly would be. What would you do with 5 gallons of milk? Okay, it's one thing to say, well, 5 gallons of milk's not a big deal. We drink a gallon of milk a day, 5 gallons of milk every day for 300 days, folks. That's a lot of milk coming in on a regular basis. So much so that most homesteaders start feeding it to their other livestock. It can be a wonderful food supplement for your other livestock. Pigs do great on it. Chickens even enjoy it, and get a lot of good health issues from the added protein. So here's some things to think about, though. First, let me give you a little factoid. In 1944, there were 25.6 million cows in the United States, while today there's only 9.3 million cows in the United States. However, the cows we have today produce 59% more milk than they did in 1944. The advantages of selective breeding programs. We've bred cows that produce a whole lot more milk. But why is it also that 9.3 million cows producing 59% more are still keeping up with our supply for milk? It's because Americans aren't drinking milk like we used to. Everyone's drinking diet soda and, caffeine drinks and all these other garbage that we see in the stores nowadays. Hardly anyone's drinking milk like they used to. So trying to get back to milk is kind of a good idea. If you do buy a milk, some things to be considering. Okay, cows' hooves grow on the average of 2 inches a year. If you live in an area where you've got rocky ground or gravelly areas, they will naturally wear their hooves down to some degree. But they still need to be trimmed, shaped, and conditioned. And you need to pick up their feet and look at their feet on a regular basis from a health standpoint, because cows can get a lot of diseases through their feet. So you do need to expect to trim that cow. If you live in a small lot or in an area with soft ground, you will need to expect to trim that cow's feet every twice a year is what they recommended. Universities recommend it twice a year. And let me touch base with something right here just so we can clarify things right now. I don't want you guys to ever listen to something that I say on these videos and expect to take that as gospel. You shouldn't do that on any video. You should get online, do your own research, and verify the information for yourself. And that's all I'm going to say on that matter. Okay. They suggest trimming the cow's feet once when they get dried off, and again 100 days into milk production. Those are the recommended times. Teresa talks about a lacto intolerance or lacto allergies. There's a lot of other things going on in milk that you should concern yourself with that may be triggering that. And a lot of it has to do with the feeds that the cow is eating, because anything that cow eats is going to show up in their milk. And also, the exposure to bovine growth hormone. A lot of dairies use bovine growth hormone to increase milk production. And that could be part of your effect. So, okay, some of the diseases that cows can run into, and if you're going to have a cow, you got to be looking for mastitis, leptospirosis, parainfluenza, roundworms, tapeworms, external parasites, hard and soft feet, foot rot, heel erosions, laminitis, sole ulcers, hoof issues that can be avoided by trimming, sole ulcers, and white line disease. Sole ulcers affects 28% of the cows. White line disease, 22% of the cows. Bruising, 8% of the cows. Digital dermatitis, 8%. Interdigital hyperplasia, 5%, and it goes on and on. There's a whole bunch of things, and almost all of those can be trimmed. Yes, home place, just like a goat. You can trim a goat. They're easy to trim. Cows are a whole lot more difficult, but they can be done. I myself have had a family cow that I worked with and trained with, and I could walk around and pick up her feet just like I could pick up the feet on my horses. And I could pick up her feet and work on them. So it can be done. It just takes some training. Okay. Some of the advantages of having your dairy cow. This gets to the good stuff. Why would you want to have a dairy cow? Well, for one thing, you'll have milk that is bovine growth hormone free. You'll have milk that is organic because you've been comparing or controlling what is being fed to the animal. You're going to have raw milk. So that ends that whole problem about whether or not you want to get raw milk or not. You can decide for yourself whether you want to use it that way or whether you want to put it on the stove and pasteurize it. There is a lot of advantages to raw milk. Everybody used to drink raw milk. It's a matter of building up your own gut to be able to handle the stuff that's in raw milk. So it depends on where you want to take that. Um, I prefer raw milk myself personally, but if I were to get another cow, I'd have to start myself back up onto it slowly, because my gut has been drinking store-bought milk for a while now and isn't really there yet. Okay. Uh, Not only do you have the milk, but then you also have a calf every year. Something you didn't think about. Something you have to consider. You're breeding this cow. The process is you buy the cow, you breed the cow, she gets pregnant, she has a calf. That's the only way you get milk, is because you're stealing it from the calf. You keep the calf on the cow for a little bit, and then you wean the cow off, and you start stealing the milk. That's basically what you're doing. You get to continue stealing the milk for 300 days, while the calf goes on to drink powdered milk and start eating grain and hay. And that's how we get our milk production, by weaning off those calves early. So you have a calf now to deal with. What do you do with that calf? How did you breed your cow in the first place? If you bred your cow, let's say you had a small Dexter, and you bred that small Dexter, and a Dexter is a cross cow. It's half a beef cow and sort of half a dairy cow. That's small. But let's say you bred that Dexter to a beef breed, a small beef breed. You might decide that if the calf is born, you might just keep it for milk or for meat. You're not going to put it as a milk cow. Or if you have a little heifer calf, you might want to keep that as a replacement for your other one. But every year you're going to have a calf that you have to deal with, or would want to deal with. I know up here in Alaska, a lot of the dairy farms here are running Holsteins, and I myself have, and some of my neighbors and friends have bought the males, the neutered males from them, and we raise them up for beef. Nothing wrong with that. They're very good eating. So what do you do with your calf when it's born? Yes, if it's a female, you can keep it as a replacement cow. You can sell it as a replacement cow. It's up to you. You also get excellent fertilizer by having cows. Cow manure is an excellent fertilizer that is not really hot. It's not hot like chicken manure is. Cow manure could almost be used directly without composting. You have the skins and hides. When you process, if you decide to butcher one for yourself for beef, you have the skins and hides. You have meat, certainly. You can butcher that calf yourself and put a huge supply of meat in your freezer. Then that leaves you the bones from the cow, which can be used for sauces or for pets or for any number of things. And then, of course, you have the milk. You have 7 or 8 gallons of milk a day. So you've got butter, which you can make from your milk. Obviously, you're going to want to invest in an electric milk processor, but you'll have milk. You'll have butter from your cow. You'll have buttermilk, because when you separate the butter out of the milk, you end up with buttermilk, which is great for making buttermilk pancakes and things like that. You have cream that you let rise to the top, and you skim the cream off the top. Ice cream, of course. Hard cheeses, soft cheeses. With cow milk, you get cream cheese. You can get nacho cheese, feta cheese, cottage cheese, depending on what rennet and flavorings you might add to it. But milk cows' cheeses are cheddar, Colby, blue, Munster, pepper jack, string cheese, Swiss cheese, Gruyere, Emmentaler, Manchego, Havarti, regular American cheese, mozzarella, and Gouda is all made from cow's milk. So here's the thing. If you want to have a cow and you got a couple acres, and again, it depends on where you live. Where I lived in Montana, we needed 20 acres for a cow because the ground was just that poor. In the Midwest, you only need an acre or two for a cow. You need to talk to your local extension service, and they'll tell you what your carrying capacity is for the ground in that area, and they'll do it in what's known as an animal unit. An animal unit is a cow with a calf on its side. That's what an animal unit is. Okay, so that's dairy cows, folks. That's kind of the long and short of it. They are expensive to get everything in place and set up for them, but you do get an awful lot of milk. And if you are a prudent person, that milk provides you with all your milk, all your cream, all your ice cream, all your butter, all your cheeses, And that's huge. That's huge. You can make a block of cheese a day. You can put your butter on every day. You can have your drinking milk. You can make whipped cream. You can make ice cream every day. And you're probably still going to have more milk left over, which you could then turn around and feed to your pigs or your chickens or your dog or, whatever. You can feed it back to the cows for that matter. They'll lick it back up. Don't let it go to waste. That's all. Just try not to let it go to waste. So it's in the wise use of that milk that makes or breaks the use of this. Okay, so it looks like my picture on here is frozen. Is my picture frozen, and you guys are just listening to me, and it's not coming through, or is it coming through? Great. I know you guys are behind me, so let me go back and look at some posts here. Yeah, Jerseys, by the way, are one of my favorite breeds. I really like Jerseys because they're a little bit smaller and they're really friendly and easy to handle. Just my personal thing. Why do they kill baby cows for meat? Well, that's how you get, what do they call it? I'm forgetting the word for it. Veal. Yep, veal. That's where veal comes from, is from baby cows. I don't know why they do that. I have seen some, I used to work for a dairy operation in Ohio when I was younger, and how they raise the veal is they put the male dairy calves in a very small pen, like 4 feet by 4 feet, where they really can't walk very far, and they feed them milk. They just pour the milk to them. They raise them up on milk and just try to fatten them up on milk, and then once they get them fat, but they're still small, then they're processed into veal. Very, very tender meat, but not great. Not great. So, did you have a bull? We used to have a bull years ago. You are great on video and sound. Okay, because from my end, my video is frozen and not showing anything. But okay, you guys can see me. That's what matters. As long as you guys can see me, what I have on my end does not matter. We're here and see. Just have to shove the video when it stops. Okay, well, give it a shove then. Freezes up and coming back, not frozen. Okay, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm sorry about the buffering. I have phenomenal upload speed or download speed, but I don't have very good upload speed with my local provider, and I don't have an option for a different local provider. Otherwise, I would. So anytime I do a live stream, I have to really crank down my settings. And in fact, I cranked them up earlier trying to get that to play. Let me see if I go back and change it back to what I had it at originally. The picture quality may not be as good, but it might reduce the buffering a bit. Veal, yes, veal was what I was trying to think of. I do freeze cheese and butter. Yeah, you can freeze cheese and butter. Although some cheeses you know, see, this is the problem. This is the problem with where we've gone to in America, because we've all gotten so lazy. There was a time when you took your cheese and you stored it in a cool, dry room, and you let it age and you let it dry, and it would build a crust on the outside, a mold on the outside, but the cheese inside is still good. It doesn't permeate down inside of it, and that's the way you stored it. It's like smoking bacon. There was a time when you smoked your bacons and you smoked your hams because that was the way to store them without refrigeration. And so we would smoke those items, and then you just hang them up in in a, you know, in a cool, dry spot, and they would hang there, and you could store them almost infinitely. A lot of your Virginia hams are dry cured that way. But you know, so many folks have gotten away from that. Now we buy everything, throw it in the refrigerator. Buy something, throw it in the refrigerator. Buy something, throw it in the freezer. Teresa Dean says, I cannot fathom killing a baby cow just for meat. Um, yeah, you know, ethically have an issue with that, but you know, that cow is going to be meat sooner or later, at one point or another. But we've moved away from that. We, as a society, we're kind of moving away from that. Veal is no longer such a common thing to find on the menu nowadays. Never ate veal or any goat, moose, just deer, cow, pig, chicken, and squirrel. Okay, well, different thing. Too many Italian restaurants say veal, but they're using pork, not veal. Yes, that's true. A lot of them are claiming it's veal, but it's not veal. Veal is beef, not pork. But they will sometimes they'll substitute others in there. That stuff goes on all the time. I'm amazed at how many people can't tell the difference between one thing and another anymore. They're too busy doing whatever it is they're doing and not paying attention. Or lamb, never ate that. And lamb is sort of a misnomer. Lamb, you know, lamb is a baby sheep, and everyone thinks, well, you're eating a baby sheep. You're not really eating. Lamb isn't really a baby sheep. It's sort of a young sheep, but not necessarily a baby sheep. I've canned some butter and cream cheese. Nice to have it on hand. Certainly is. Yeah. Don't freeze ricotta. Nope, that's right. You never freeze ricotta. Nope. You just got to use that up pretty quickly. It doesn't stay around very good. But again, addicted prepper. That's the nice thing about having your own cow. You would have a permanent supply of ricotta. You would have a permanent supply of butter. You would have a permanent supply of cream cheese if you learn how to process that. Yes, Jay Merritt, you are absolutely correct. Putting wax on the outside of cheeses. Also, there's a number of things that use wax. I've seen them actually use charcoal. You know, the ash from a fireplace. They'll take out the ashes out of a wood stove and coat the outside of the cheese with the dry ash and store it that way. It tends to offer a little different flavor. So it's another thing that was done. I bought wax to wax the cheese, but didn't get it done. Well, that's the reality of life, isn't it, Songbird? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. We always do these things thinking we're going to do this and do that, and sometimes they don't come to fruition. So I bought wax to bought wax to do your legs, huh, Gabby? Okay, what did American Liberty say that I missed? You'll have to put it in all caps so I can see it. I'm trying to read, but I'm actually, we're going pretty slow today. I'm kind of impressed at how slow things are. Southwestern Virginia. Yes, T lives in Southwest Virginia. Give them a good life. Don't make them suffer until, yeah, well, that's right. And I think that's the thing, home place. It's just a matter of if your animals have a good life, we're the ones that determine how long that would be, depending on when we want to process stuff. So as long as they have a good life and are comfortable and enjoy what time they have, I guess that's what's right for it. So, like cat for chicken in Chinese, yeah, unfortunately. Okay, I didn't see that comment. I'm hoping it would come back. But maybe it will. You guys are on a delay from me, so maybe it will. Maybe I'll scroll back here and I'll look. No, I guess not. Okay. Well, anyhow, that's sort of my little spiel on cows. There's some differences, obviously, between cows and goats. Goats are very much like cows in all ways, in that they do produce milk. They eat about the same food. The food to weight ratio is about the same. I mean, if you have 1,000 pounds of goats, they're going to eat about the same amount as a 1,000-pound cow would. Only for 1,000-pound goats, you'd have to have a lot of goats. One of the advantages of having a goat over a cow is when a goat steps on your foot, it don't matter. When a cow steps on your foot, it's a broken foot. They're pretty heavy, so you got to learn how to handle cows. You just got to learn how to walk around them, and like most things around the farmyard, they take a steady, calm, quiet hand. I talk to the cows a lot, and that seems to calm them down and keep them steady. Songbird said a lot of illness here, got behind on a lot of things. Yeah, I hear that. I've seen that happen quite a bit. I could get some mustache wax. You said it's bikini wax. Grizz, that's funny. You can smoke cheese too, right? Yeah, James, that's right. You can smoke cheese. In fact, some cheeses like Gouda are smoked as a regular process. It's sort of interesting too. If you notice that not only do they smoke Gouda, but they smoke it and then wax it to seal that smoke in. What they're trying to do is they're trying to push that smoke down deep into the cheese. Gouda is not a very hard cheese. It's pretty soft cheese. And look around. There's a lot of different molds you can buy. So you can make a whole bunch of, you can make I read the list. There's a whole bunch of different cheeses you can make. Sorry, on my phone, can't hold the shift and type. American Liberty Fighters, what is it that your question was? Thanks for doing this on your own. Much respect. American Liberty Fighters, just type it again so I can, and I will look for it and try to catch it. If you would, please. Or if not, text me later on and we can go from there. But goats got lice. Actually, Gabby, all animals can get lice. Chickens can get lice. Cows, pigs, horses, even humans, we can all get lice. There's ways of treating that. There's just simple ways of treating that like any other animal. You can put, with goats, you can feed them things to help them get rid of lice, and you can spray them down with things to get rid of lice, just like you do. You can bathe them to get rid of lice. A lot of the animals, commercial farms will actually run their animals through a dip. I've seen all kinds of breeds of animals run through dips where they actually had to get into a tank and swim from one end to the other. And that by the time they got out, their entire body had gotten wet and that was just swimming right through the medicine. So, scared cows will trample you quickly. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. You got to know how to handle cows, and you got to know to get out of the way. You don't want to stand in the middle of a chute when the cows come running down. Cottage cheese doesn't freeze well. No, cottage cheese doesn't freeze well. Sour cream doesn't freeze well. A lot of the soft cheeses don't freeze well. I know song is getting out of hand. Okay. Addicted Prepper, you can usually find good cream cheese sales close to the winter holidays. Yes, you can. Wrapping it in tin foil does help. The difference in raw milk and Walmart milk. Dana, the difference is that the raw milk has not been pasteurized, so all of the microorganisms on the inside are still alive. Well, Arnie, talking about people that don't want to kill animals but wear leather shoes or wear leather belts or have leather upholstery or leather furniture, that you're always going to have those people. Can you salt pack cheese? Yes, Home Place. I believe you can salt pack cheese, but it is hard to get the salt back out of the cheese when you do that. Arnie, going back to your comment, our whole society has gotten so mamby-pamby anymore. Nobody relates to killing the animals. Everyone likes having a hamburger, just nobody wants to kill the cow to make the hamburger. They don't realize that this makes this happen. When you do this, you're doing this. It's whether you're doing it or somebody else is doing it for you, it's getting done. How do you know if the land you might buy would be good for grain soil testing? Yes, American Liberty, it would be a matter of soil testing. Get some samples and get it to a lab and have it looked at. Talk to the owner that owned it before you. See what production it's been in. One of the things you got to be really careful about is so many farmers right now are using GMO crops. And so when they use GMO crops, they're spraying those fields with Roundup. So that chemical is in the soil. And so even though they are selling it to you and you're buying it, just realize that soil is going to have that glycophosphates in there, and that can be difficult, if not impossible, to eradicate from your soil. So something to consider when looking at buying land. And remember, you need 40 acres and then some woods on top of that. So be sure to make sure Giovanna knows that. Hogs 2. What do you mean hogs 2, James? Well, Rebecca, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. I try to be informative when I can. You can make cream cheese from powdered milk. I did not know that, Songbird. My goat climbed my car and she went back to her. Yes, Chris. Or my pie, yes. I've had that same problem. I've had friends and neighbors come over. We've sat here in the house and looked out the window, and here our goats are standing on the roof of their car. Goats will climb anything and everything. So we've gotten to the point where we tend to fence the goats out of places we don't want them to be in. Yes, powdered milk can be used in bread making. So can regular milk be used in bread making. You just have to offset the wet with the dry. So it's milk flavored water. Good night, Tommy. Thanks for being on here, buddy. I appreciate it. Walmart sells milk flavored water. I didn't know that. I guess most of the milk in there is what he's referring to as being milk flavored water. It's that 2% milk and some of these other low fat milks and stuff that just don't have the quality. I mix powdered milk with whole to make it last longer. I didn't know you could do that. Mixing powdered milk in with whole milk makes the milk last longer. Stops it from, Makes me wonder if that powdered milk doesn't have some kind of preservative mixed with it then. Okay. Can you make your own shelf-stable milk? Yes, you can, Rhonda. You can take milk, put it on top of your stove, and boil the crap out of it until you've killed every living organism in it, making it basically sterile milk, and putting that in jars and canning it like you would anything else. I wouldn't want to do that, especially if you have a cow and you pretty much have an endless supply of milk. But you can if you. I know I do a lot of sailing. I sail, quite a bit, and I know when we're offshore, we'll have the stable milk because if you want something milk flavored, if you need to add milk to a recipe. But that milk is dead. It's a dead milk. It has nothing, no living organisms left in it, and so it's not necessarily as good for you as, say, a raw milk, which would have all of the microorganisms and stuff working in it, the good and the bad, because there's both in there. Did you know GMO was used back in the early 70s? Yes, I did know that. Yep, GMO stuff has been used as far back as the early 70s. And guess what, guys? Bayer, the German company, Bayer, has bought Monsanto. So now we have even more money behind unethical people. Lovely. Lice. Hog lice. Oh. James, I think I have seen lice on some hogs. It depends on the breed. Some breeds of hogs don't have very many hairs. Yorkshires and Durocs don't have many hairs, but a pig like a Mangalista is woolly, and so would tend to get lice on it. But again, you can run them through a dip, and that would take care of that if you have the ability of having a dip. If you don't, then you have to spray them with something. Good luck with that. Pigs don't like to get sprayed with stuff. They'll run like crazy. So, grandmother taught us she went through the Depression. Okay. Cool. There's so many people out there, and not just because this is grandpa and grandpa's farm stuff. Guys, talk to your grandparents, pick their brain, try to learn from them. They know and did know so much. You need to talk to them more. Such a huge resource that we just let die off, and it's just a shame. And I'm sure your grandparents would love to talk to you, so take the time to do that. Prayer will be necessary for me to talk to her. Okay. Prayer will be necessary. American Liberty Fighters, something happened? I have no video or audio, just chat. Rhonda, try refreshing. If you refresh, it'll come back. There you go, Teresa. Rhonda, refresh. Okay. Might have wallboard in it. Oh, yes, Homeplace brought up an interesting thing. Yes, there was a big problem with milk coming in from China, and that it had the same material that's used for making drywall in the milk. They added it as an additive, trying to make their milk more profitable. Again, the advantage of having your own cow. You know, you have your own cow, you know what your cow is eating. And to give you an idea, the length of control that I like to experience, and not that I'm just a control freak, but I'm concerned about my own health. I know what my grass is eating. I know what I'm spraying on the ground and putting on the ground, so I know what's fertilizing and feeding my grass. My cow is eating the grass, so I know what's feeding my cow. I milk my cow, so I know what's feeding me, because I can control that with what I put on my lawn. That's where that chain starts, and it works all the way up through the food chain. What is wallboard? Wallboard is drywall. The stuff you put on the inside of your wall inside your home that comes in 4x8 sheets. That's wallboard or drywall, plaster, sheetrock. Yep, all that stuff. Oh yes, Teresa, the Chinese were putting that into the food. You would be amazed at the stuff people put in food. This is why I don't buy anything from a factory. If you look on my YouTube channel at my about page or at the end of my videos, all farm, no factory. I don't trust these guys. They actually have fake walnuts. Wow, I did not know that, Greg. Yes, Gabby, and yes, China has drywall in the milk. Guys, there's a saying: know your food, know your farmer. Okay, if you're going to the grocery store and you're buying stuff from the grocery store, prepackaged, factory foods or what have you, then who knows what you're really eating. Um, if you want to eat healthy, then get to know a local farmer, find out what that farmer is putting on his fields and how he takes care of his vegetables and his animals. And if you can't homestead and have your own animals, then certainly find somebody who's doing it right and buy it from them. So just so you can protect your own health. Know your food, know your farmer, and let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Your grandparents died 110 years ago when I was a boy 12 years of age. Well, Grizz, then you need to be talking to your grandchildren and sharing with them all your kitty jokes and the other information you know about that. Ha. Look at the barcode, okay. Yes, Grizz is kind of twisted. Food is scary, I'll tell you, daughter being anorexic. Yeah, Gabby, food is scary. I mean, you think about what the factories put into the food nowadays, what they're allowed to put into the foods. The stuff, I mean, it's just phenomenal, the garbage that is allowed. They use something called solution by dilution. That's the rule of thumb. The FDA regulates what can and can't be in foods based on a formula by parts per million. You can have an acceptable amount of parts per million. Even poisons can be in your food as long as they're in there in such small amounts that they don't deem to be a threat. And so what happens is every so often the US DA and the FDA run into a situation where the parts per million starts to climb because of effects by factories and government programs and what have you. And so slowly but surely they start raising the acceptable percentages, the parts per million percentages, and you don't know anything about it. Unless you're paying attention, you don't know anything about it. So, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys. I mean, this isn't any conspiracy. Once again, don't believe what I tell you. Do your own research and look for yourself. Start looking at the labels and then get online and type in what those items are and see what you're really eating. See what the stuff is and see how toxic some of that stuff is. Well, you start doing your homework and start reading about some of this stuff, you're not going to eat anything anymore that you buy from a store. This is why I homestead. I raise my own animals so I can know that I'm eating well. And if I go buy something from the store, if I can't recognize it, I don't buy it. If I can't tell you what part of what animal that came from, it doesn't end up in my refrigerator. It doesn't come home. And right now I'm really exposed because my farm is not what it needs to be. My intention is to clear some land. I'm going to clear some land and put in some grain fields. Get a tractor so I can raise my own hay and raise my own feed to feed my animals. That's the only way you're really going to be prepared for anything. And all these people talk about being preppers and prepared for when the stuff hits the fan. If you own animals and you're going to the store and buying the feed for your animals, you're not really a homesteader, you're a hobby farmer. You're not a homestead until you have the ability to raise your own food for your own animals and have independence. Then you're a homesteader. So, good night, James. I think we're all going to cut it short here pretty soon. We've already gone over our hour. I see I'm losing some folks now anyway, so maybe we'll curtail this. I know some folks have other places to be. So what we're going to do is have another live stream next Sunday, but either this coming week or starting the following week, I'll also be doing one during midweek, maybe on Tuesday evenings, maybe a little earlier. That would be more family friendly and talk about topics for kids. We might save this one for talking about, guns and other things that are more not necessarily adult content, but on this time we'll talk about processing pigs and cows and that kind of stuff. And on the other one, it's all going to be sparkles and unicorn kind of stuff. So, and I think with that we should probably end this, I guess, about here. I don't know. Oh yes, bacon. Don't forget when this is over to get down into the comments, not in the chat. Get down in the comments and put that you want to participate in the drawing for bacon. And when I get done making the video, let's see, I won't wait tomorrow. I'll give it a couple days. Wednesday night, or maybe Tuesday. You know what? Tuesday night, I'll do a live stream Tuesday night. And on Tuesday night, we will draw the name of the person that's going to get a pound of bacon. And I'll show you some of the video of the bacon making so you can see that. Actually, maybe I'll have that video up Tuesday as well. So we'll do that then. Okay, trying to catch up on some of that. Everything's going fast. I want bacon. Yeah, B, don't put it in the chat. Put it down in the comments after this is over. That way you'll get it. Don't forget to look for my avocado. Gabby, I will look for your avocado message. If I don't respond to you, then put it through my regular chat if you would. That way. And Grizz, you made it through the entire thing without getting kicked out. Man, so much for your averages. 40 acres has cost a lot. It can cost a lot. Yes, it can. That's life in the fast lane. My chat froze. Okay, hugs. Rhonda, thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. I feeling the love tonight, so I really appreciate that. Thanks, T. Thanks, Greg. My pie. Am I saying that right, my pie? Danke, Jay. I guess Jay sprechen Sie Deutsch? Alrighty then. Well, guys, it's been great, and I guess we'll catch you on Tuesday, and we'll just go from there. How would that be? Do you have unicorns in Alaska? Home place, we don't have unicorns in Alaska. We have narwhals. If you don't know what a narwhal is, you'll have to look it up. It's a whale with a unicorn sticking out of its head. So I guess we do have unicorns in Alaska. They just swim in our oceans here. Anyhow, guys, that's it. We'll catch you guys later. Talk to you all later. Have a good day. Have a good week and stay safe out there, okay? Bye, guys.